Hi, Carrie. I know you wanted to create something easier than the sketchpad. So when we go to lesson 4, that's uploaded on Canvas, you can see all the medical histories. Floors is on there, the blank medical history form, even though it says beginning low and beginning high, all of that doesn't matter. Jeff's is on here. Pedro's is on here. So obviously Pedro's would be higher. And then there's a more medical history and different types of history forms. So you can practice that. And then there's a healthcare application that's on there. And then a longer medical history form, different type of medical history form is on there as well with the basics of how to fill that out. So, and here's Lillian's. There's different medical history forms. So I know that you're really hyper concerned about the points. So as you can see, the way this test is, every single word, every single line, every single line item gets a point. Okay. So what I would do, because you like that idea, you can choose the quiz that suits your level. That's why I keep saying it doesn't really matter that this says beginning low and beginning high, because you can just choose one that works. So like Pedro's medical history, they still need to choose the information. They'll still need to pull it out, right? So if I were going to grab Pedro's medical history here, okay, and then I would go ahead, right, and I'm going to go ahead and say Pedro's medical history. I'm going to save that so I can easily find it again. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up a form and I'm going to start to create a quiz. So this is kind of where you're like, oh, but it's not, how are they going to do it? And I don't know how I'm going to bubble. So I would just create my own quiz just because it's a really, really easy way to collect. And then I can add a picture from what I just grabbed. So somewhere I just added that Pedro's medical history. Open. So now the students will be able to see the medical history. But it doesn't, I kept saying it really doesn't matter whose medical history you choose. Okay. So if we choose Pedro's, right? And then what you're going to do is have them fill in. After they're reading this, we're going to give them another picture of a blank. And I can move this around. I can move that question underneath. Okay. So one of the things they're going to do is read about him first, the written part. So I would change this and I would say written post-test medical history. Okay. So they're still going to need to identify different ideas, right? So we would add a question by clicking the plus. And since we'll be doing a lot of quizzes like this, I would really appreciate it if you became the lead on adapting these kind of ideas. So then you can go through the questions. And when you add the question, like what's the name, you can add the point. And then you can say if it's a checklist, an A, B, C, or D, check boxes, drop down, linear, you can decide what kind of question to give, right? And then you can make that question required. So then they'll have to do it and it will equal a point, right? So the next one would be if I look at the date, right? The date would probably be a good one. What's the date? Yeah. And then we make it a point system. So how many points for the date? And then, of course, we make it required. So then there's that. So whenever you're crafting a quiz and you're pulling from the Civics old-fashioned binders, you can just say, here is the medical history. I'm pulling it right out of the binder. And then I'm just working through the point system and saying, like, okay, name, date, birth date, sex. So then, okay, what's their birthday? What is Pedro's birth date? Okay, we don't want it to be multiple choice, right? So we always want it to be short answer, right? Now keep in mind, doing it this way also means that it will go into a massive response. So the good thing is if you had to and you didn't have time to bubble or grade, you could give this entire Excel spreadsheet to another teacher, right? So that they would be able to see that, right? So here is a medical form, okay, that corresponds to A, B, C, and D. So the basic thing, name, date, right? Let's see. So every time I want to add another question, I hit the plus, okay? And so you can see how this writing test would be really easy to try, right? Let's see, what's his phone number? So let's say, what is Pedro's phone number? Okay, so this is how, if I were trying to use like a PDF old-fashioned idea, and then I don't want to use a new technology like Sketchboard or Sketchpad. I don't want to have the students try to write on it. I just want to give them kind of a way to collect their answers in one spot. So this is another way. So there's what I keep saying is collaboratively as a department, what we can do, right? So then the total points is 3 so far. And you keep saying, well, how can I collect the points? Well, this is one way, right? So if you're going to be in charge of like creating the intermediate level, what would be great is if teachers in the department would kind of step up and go, oh, I'm going to create all the post-testing quizzes for intermediate level. And then the beginning level teacher, maybe Palm, would say, oh, I'm going to step up. She already did. She just did it automatically. That's kind of what happens in other schools. People just step up and they're like, I already created it. Here it is, guys. And then like Batra or Lepe, they can create this form as well. And then the points are just whatever points you all decide it will be, right? So if I go back over here and I say, what is your current medical condition? So I'm going to create a question, right? It's always going to be short answer, right? What is your current medical condition? So from year to year, if this changes, all we have to do is go back and change the actual form, right? So we can just change this form and we can keep groupings of things. That would be really super useful to keep that there. So, and then every time I add something here, physician or dentist, I can go back and add a point, right? So let's see. Medical insurance and their group number. Okay. Okay, so then it has a lot of good information there for advanced. So basically, I just work through the form, and then I can have them give me a brief medical history, D, right? So I could talk about his allergies to medication, right? So let's see, let's pick another question. So I'll go here and I'll say, is Pedro allergic to any medications? If so, which ones? So this is going to be more than 1 point, right? So then if I do a short answer here, right, I'm going to say, well, they're going to say yes or no, first of all, and then they're going to have to tell me which ones, right? And then I'll make that required. So then that'll be 2 points. Now I'm up to 6 points, right? So I just work through the narrative, and then I work through the form, right? So that's the form of, so I can say, what checkboxes that did, I have to think of the question of how to ask this question, and then list the prescriptions and medications that you're taking, the last date of your physical. And then I would just make sure that it matches here. And then I could give this to my students to take, right? Really easily. So how would I get this to my students? So basically, I would either send it. I'm going to click the button send, and I'm going to grab a link. I'm not going to email it to them. I'm going to use a short URL, and I grab this form, and then I go ahead and copy it, and I put it on my Canvas class. So then I would just go to my Canvas Civics page, and I would give the written test on my Civics page, right? So that's kind of what I was thinking for today. Feel free to go back and change that written thing. I'm going to go send that to you. And then it would be great if you kind of become the go-to person for intermediate level post-testing, where you're creating forms, and then you can put the form in the post-test in the Health Co-op binder. So if I go to the Health Co-op binder and I'm creating a form for it, right? If I want to create the form for the quiz, right? So if I go to recents, all I have to do is, here's this form, and I'm going to go ahead and move this. Oops. Yeah, I'm not going to restrict it. I'm going to make sure all the students can grab it as well. So that's done. And then I'm going to make sure I move this to the binder so that everybody can see it. And then they'll be able to find that as well, right? So if I scroll down here, and here's the Civic binder folder, and I'm going to put it in the health binder. I'll move it in there. So now everybody can see the form, and then they'll be able to access that. So I'll send this video how to help. And then these are the kind of things that if everybody kind of learns the technology and shares it, and then everybody just kind of spreads out the task load, it doesn't really become any one person's thing. And then slowly our skills start to build. We create staff capacity. All right. Hope you have a great day.